Welcome everybody back to our cloud computing sessions. We have been studying this great phenomenon cloud computing from different dimensions. So cloud computing, you know, has made a new change and a new revolution in our day-to-day life. Cloud computing offers many opportunities and it also offers many challenges to us. So today we will be discussing one of such a technological challenge and a solution that we have arrived at. Okay. This challenge is called federated identity. Today on the cloud computing, it is likely that each one of us, each user, will have multiple credentials and multiple access permission across different applications provided by different users. For example, a user like me will have an account on Gmail, I will have an account on Yahoo, I will have an account on Facebook, I will have an account on Flickr, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this actually will create a new kind of a challenge for us. For instance, actually if I want to remember each and every login every time I use a user, then it puts a burden on my head. Okay. Secondly, these fragmented logins present a challenge to users and service providers. For example, suppose you are using your Facebook and if you immediately want to log into Gmail, then again you got to open a new window, then go to login page and enter all those things. Secondly, it also creates a lot of problems for the service providers because while in Facebook you cannot access Gmail or you cannot access certain contents which are available in Gmail. Assume a situation in which actually you want to send a file which is there in your Google Docs, but you are still using Facebook. So this creates a problems for both users as well as service providers. Okay. So now there is a need. What is that need? Is it possible for a user to have one identity and access multiple services? In other words, is it possible that I have one login and one password credential and I can use Facebook, Twitter and other services simultaneously? So that is what the motivation is all about. In today's cloud computing area, every time a new service comes, I will create an account and there is unlimited number of accounts that I am going to create, and this creates a burden on my memory. So there is a strong need for an intrinsic identity system that is trusted across the web and within enterprises. That means ideally I will have one email ID or one account number which will allow me to enter into my college website, college services, as well as for Google, as well as for Gmail, as well as for Google Docs, and so on and so forth. So that is the motivation. So in cloud computing, is it possible to have an identity which can be used across multiple locations or multiple service providers? So the answer is yes. And today's lesson, the learning objective is very simple. After the successful completion of this session, a student will be able to appreciate the need for federated identity. Federated identity is a solution to overcome this multiple login identity the user is having. Secondly, the basics of federated identity concept and practice. How is this designed and how does this going to operate? So agenda is very simple. Federated identity, what does it mean? Federated identity, how do I manage that? Or how do companies manage that, and the technologies which are used in federated identity, and certain examples, live examples where it has been actively used. So let me start with a simple definition or a description of federated identity. A federated identity in information technology is the means of linking a person's identity and attributes stored across multiple distinct identity management systems. So what it means is, suppose you are an ordinary user like me, I will have one Gmail account, I will have one Facebook account, one Twitter account. So what this federated identity system will do is actually try to link my credentials across different service providers. So if I have a Twitter account, then that information of that login can be used to log into another service providers. So that is the objective of federated identity. And another name for this is identity federation. So we know federation is a group of entities which are cooperating with each other. For example, India is a federal country. What it means is there are a couple of states which have ended, independent existence, but they cooperate with each other. So federated identity is a mechanism to connect our fragmented logins across different platforms into one. The question comes then, why do I need this? As centralized identity management solutions are created to help deal users and data security, wherein user in the system they accessed were within the same network. For example, if there is a company which has an HR department, which has a finance department, which has a marketing department, what they used to do is actually each of these domain people, they used to have independent login IDs. For example, marketing department different, finance department different. So when they realize that these departments have to interact and cooperate with each other, they come out with what is known as a centralized identity management. Whereas one ID will help you to log into different domains within the organization. But what is actually has changed today is increasingly users are accessing external systems. Although you are an employee of an Indian college like mine or an enterprise like Infosys, there are chances that you would be allowed to, you are required to access something like outside agents, resources like Twitter or Google. And if you have been recently following press and all, maybe you have realized that the new CEO of Infosys, Mr. Sikka, has made it a policy that every employee would be allowed to use outside services like Gmail, Hotmail during their working hours. In earlier days, it was prohibited. So the matter of the fact is that today there is a need for employees or internal people to get across the network and start using resources. Secondly, the second thing is actually even the outside people also be interested or required to use resources within the corporation for which they don't belong. For example, it is possible that my college and another college will have some kind of a collaboration project where an employee, a faculty of my college is interacting with another college, and we have created some common resources on, say, Google or Gmail or on Google Doc or internally on our each other's college websites. So in such cases, it is not only mandatory, it is required that we have to allow people to log in across different locations or different data systems. The integration of internet into every aspect. Secondly, the internet, which has become this, actually is causing new challenges. For example, every time somebody uses the internet, then he has to go out of the network. So federated identity management is a mechanism to overcome to help people to have this multiple accounts simultaneously, but still able to use them within their organization. Now that I have told you the need, let me define what is this federated identity management. It is having a common set of policies. For example, if you are using the same identity for Twitter and Google, Gmail, then the both companies will have a common policies and practices and protocols. There will be a standard procedures and protocol in the network which will allow us to use the common credentials across different platforms. So what does this federated identity system does? It does three things. It will describe the technologies which are going to be used in the construction and management of federated identities. Next, it will tell you the standards. See, now one of the challenge in the connected world is if my company and other company are using different standards and communication becomes impossible. So in order to overcome that, open standards are being promoted and practiced by different organizations. Federated identity also exclusively many a times uses these open ID resources so that it can have it can establish certain practices which can be applied across different organizations. And also it will describe some use cases. What are the occasions where you need federated identity? For example, suppose you are doing a kind of an online transaction, then you want to, while you are actually shopping, that you want to get into the bank accounts because you have to pay the money. So in such cases, you need federated account, and this federated identity system will describe those cases. And what is the purpose? The purpose is to serve the portability of identity information. So my name, which is there in Google, can be transferred or can be made accessible from Twitter for identification purpose. That is called portability. So what is the goal of federated identity? The ultimate goal of identity federation is to enable users of one domain to securely access data on system of another domain seamlessly and without the need for completely redundant user administration. Very simple. What it means this, suppose I have an account in, say, Twitter and Facebook. I should be able to use one domain. Now, staying in Facebook, I should be able to access my Twitter, or staying in Twitter, I should be able to access my Facebook. While I am doing that, it should be a secure access. Just because I am transferring my content or my access from one service provider to another service, I cannot compromise on my security requirement. And domain and completely redundant information. Every time actually I want to use Facebook from within Twitter, you shouldn't be asking me enter your name, enter your password and other credentials. So it should eliminate the redundant work of entering the same data every time, and it should seamlessly integrate me into another place where actually I have another resource. So identity federation comes in different flavors. Okay. Now identity federation is actually a technology which comes in different contents. For example, user control. So for example, if you have been using services like Facebook or Gmail and all, they have what is known as data liberation. They will give you a dashboard where actually they will allow what part of your information can be shared with third parties. So this kind of a federated identity where a user can control what needs to be controlled, can be shared, is called user control, which is most of the web services or internet cloud computing based services offering today. Second one is user centric. A user can actually limit that one. For example, if you are part of an organization, then depending on your role and designation, you will be having access to different kind of services. Now federated entity, this can also help a role-based approach to identification. Enterprise controlled and business to business is very simple. An enterprise controlled where actually depending the department that you belong and depending to the position that you have, an enterprise can give you a different identity or same identity which can be used for accessing different services. Business to business control is again very simple, which we are very popular. Today it is possible that you can create a Facebook account by actually using a Gmail ID account. That means you don't have to enter your data. All that you have to enter your name and the Gmail ID. Based on that, a new account is created on Facebook. So this kind of a mechanism, a federated mechanism where an identity created on a different domain like Gmail, which can be used on another one like Twitter, is called business to business control. So that means if you are implementing or using federated identity, there are 4 flavors in which it will come. One is user controlled, next is user centric, then enterprise controlled, and business to business. Now that I have told you the need for federated this one and the flavors, now we'll talk about certain technologies which are available for implementing and deploying these federated identities. The first one is actually called SAML, Security Assertion Markup Language. We know the entire cloud computing or internet is actually based on the technologies called HTML, XML and all. So they are the markup languages which will allow you to define the functions and the controls that you can establish on every interaction that is going to happen on the net. So for example, HTML will help you to design your page, XML will help you to share information between 2 or 3 programs. Similarly, SAML, that is Security Assertion Management Markup Language, will help you to establish security controls in your communication. So another one is called OAuthor, which is another technology which can be implemented in your scripting languages or languages. So to define and control the parameters of access and redundancy. Second one, there is an industry level movement called OpenID. For example, today these are the days of open resources like open source programming, open access, open university, open schooling. Similarly, for the federated identity, now we have a different kind of a technology movement called OpenID. And we also have what is known as security tokens. Today, when you are communicating with another web service, there are 2 ways actually of connecting. One is a normal called HTTP protocols, and another one is called HTTPS protocol, where actually every message from the user and every return message from the service providers is encrypted. So that kind of a thing which actually encrypted and passes is called a security token, and in which you will be participating in what is known as a security session. Okay. So in the federated identity context, security tokens can be used for simple web tokens and JSON web tokens, SAML tokens, and others. So there are tokens available which will ensure that your information is stored securely and passed on while actually you are exchanging between 2 or more service providers. Then we also have some web service specifications which will decide the level and control of the security that you need when the service provider is exchanging his information, one of his user information into another. Meaning Twitter, if it is asking access to your account in Facebook, this web service specification will decide what can be shared and what should be shared. And we also have some standards from Microsoft Azure Cloud Services and Indo Identity Foundation. So in this slide, we studied about different technologies which are there. They are including SAML, OpenID, security tokens, and more. Now we can list certain examples where this federated identity has been already implemented and practiced. For example, Microsoft account. See, Microsoft has an account called live.com, okay, where actually you can use your Hotmail account as a credentials to log into that one. Similarly, Google. In fact, Google says one account, many services. For example, if you have an account in Gmail, then you can use their Google Docs. Okay, you can use other services like their spreadsheets. Okay, and you can use their services like Photo, Flickr, and all those things. So this is also another implementation of another example of federated identity. Yahoo has gone further. Actually, you can log into Yahoo not just using your Yahoo email ID. If you have set it up your account that way, you can actually use your Google email ID, Gmail ID or Facebook ID to log into Yahoo. So this is another example. Of course, Twitter allows you to create an account based on some other email IDs. LinkedIn and PayPal have been practicing this. So in this particular slide, you saw certain live examples where the federated identity is already being implemented. So one of the earlier technology which is also part of this federated identity is called single sign-on. So single sign-on is a technology where if a company or an organization has multiple services, what I told you earlier, like for example, they have a marketing organization which is a different system. They have a stores department which is a different organization. So all this earlier needed a different logins. But these companies have come up with what is known as single sign-on. That means they will have one identity which can be used, and or when you log into that identity, you have direct access or automatic access to others. So single sign-on is a federated identity because it allows you to enter to multiple things in which user single authentication ticket or token is trusted across multiple IT systems or organizations. For example, finance system can also allow you, marketing department can also allow you to access because you have used a single sign-on. And it's a kind of a federated identity, but it is used within an organization. SSO is a subset of federated. It is not a complete subset because it is used only for authentication. What it actually means is, so suppose you have used Gmail, okay, then you can go to Google Docs. So what is that done at that point is authentication. What it says is, the user is logged into Gmail, he is claiming to use Docs now, let me check whether he is the same user. So it's only used for authentication. Okay. That's the thing. Okay. Single sign-on system allows single users to authenticate process across multiple IT systems or even organizations. So what is the conclusion? With the use of cloud computing services is on the rise. That means every day more and more people are going to cloud computing, and every day more and more service providers are launching their services. So now it is possible that every time you go to cloud, you either are attracted by a new service and you want to start using that. And the only way to do that is to create an account. And this way, if you go on creating 2, 3, 4 accounts every day or every week, then you will end up with multiple or 100, at least tens of 20s of accounts. This poses a challenge on your memory and burden because you have to remember them. From the service point of perspective also, it is always discouraging for a user to log in every time to use. Many times you may do away those services because they ask you to log in. So in order to solve this problem, industry has come out with a solution called federated identity, where companies use open identity technologies to enable people to use the identity information from one system to another system. So federated identity is a solution that provides a unified means manage user identity across multiple platforms. So some of the references that I used: Federated Identity, a Wikipedia article, and Cloud Computing Identity Management by Anu Gopalakrishnan, Set Labs.